started. Please.
Thank you very much. The co-host, Bogdan Zdrojewski, he is vice chair of the Cult Committee for Culture and Education, and he's also former Minister for Culture from Poland and also mayor from Wrocław, which has been European Capital of Culture. And I am Heide. We are from different political groups, but we are united to support the interests of musicians and the music market, the music business in Europe. And Parliament of Pop. Doesn't that sound promising? And let us start. And the stage is yours. And I give the floor to Anna van Nonnen, Europe Calling.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today. My name is Anna, and I am Managing Director of Eurosonic Noorderslag, also called ESNS. And a special thank you to you both next to me for having us here today at the Parliament. We are based in Groningen, in the north of the Netherlands, a tiny city, but with great ambitions. And for 40 years, our mission has been really, really simple: to make Europe listen to its own music. Every January at ESNS, we bring together over 4,000 industry professionals from across Europe and tens of thousands of music fans to discover new European talent. It's where artists like Stromae, Dua Lipa, Christine and the Queens and Aurora played one of their first international shows. And through our ESNS Exchange program, supported by Creative Europe, we make sure that they get a career afterwards by being booked at festivals across Europe and to make their career, bring that to the next step. And what we can say after 40 years of organizing this is that we are doing well. European music is thriving, there's a lot of artist mobility, and we have really gotten somewhere. But also, it's not going well enough. Because what we see is that our artists travel more than ever, but our growth as a music sector in Europe lags behind to other regions. For instance, Latin America and South Korea are growing so much faster than we are, and that's a threat. And what we also see is that our artistic freedom is under pressure in Europe. Politics increasingly interfere on what can appear on stage and what can't appear on stage. And that ranges from Eastern Europe to the city I live in Amsterdam, actually, at the moment. What we also see is that private equity and large tech platforms are shaping what gets seen, streamed and sold, and often at the expense of the underground, of the diversity that makes Europe so great. And in many countries, governments are turning inward more and more from European cooperation to national policy. And that is something that we don't need at the moment. And that is why for our 30th anniversary this January, we have a unifying team, Europe Calling. We present ourselves, whether we are fully or not, as one music ecosystem, one shared identity and one creative future. Because we believe we need each other in Europe, not just economically, but culturally. Music reminds us of who we are as Europeans, diverse, democratic, and, of course, connected. It's one of the most powerful forms of soft power, and one of the few languages that still really unites us in Europe. And to make that future real, we need policy to match that ambition. And that is why I want to echo what many of my colleagues in the sector have already called for in the context of Agora EU. And that is that we need dedicated funding and sector-specific programs in music to ensure the diversity and access for all creators, and not just those backed by major capital. What we also need is better insight and shared data across Europe, so that we all work from the same evidence and understand where the gaps are, and we can build a more effective and fair policies together. We need fair and ethical digital principles so that the streaming economy benefits creators and not only shareholders. And what we need is a renewed commitment to artistic freedom so that we can create a level playing field, whether it is for the next UK pop star or for a Slovenian underground sound. Music in Europe employs over 1.3 million people in Europe, and it drives innovation, inclusion, and international collaboration. But its true value, I believe, lies in something deeper, and that is a shared European identity. So tonight, we have the Parliament of Pop, and let's remember tonight, but also afterwards, please, that Europe is not only an economic project, but also, and maybe even more so, a cultural one. And let's use music as an asset in this project, because I truly believe that it is. And let's make sure that that heartbeat stays diverse, independent and free. So tonight, but also afterwards, Europe is calling. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. You've mentioned Europe is a cultural project, and culture is also a democratic project. And thank you for mentioning the threat to artistic freedom and the freedom of expression we currently face. And it's also the European Union that's under attack. So thank you for your strong statement. And you mentioned the need for one European music ecosystem. And so I want to pass the word to Detlef Schwarte of Reeperbahn Festival.
Yes, thank you so much, and good evening to everyone. Yeah, I've been given just a few minutes to speak about the European music ecosystem, what is a challenge, how you can imagine, because it's a quite broad topic. So I want to apologize right before I start that I maybe have to simplify a little bit. I've been asked from Manfred Tari to speak about the European music ecosystem because I had the privilege to contribute to a paper on this on behalf of the European Commission. This paper, the European music ecosystem, defines a framework to understand and strengthen our sector's diversity, creativity, and solidarity, and nothing less. And it's great to see some people who also contributed to this paper here in the room. Basically, it was created by 6 European music conferences and festivals, all founding members of the Federation of Music Conferences. It is a short paper, 20 pages, 22 pages, an executive summary, easy to read, a brief ecosystem history. We mention the key actors of the ecosystem, the role in EU policy, and some recommendations for the future are also included. Of course, also a formal definition that says what the European music ecosystem at least is, in our view. I brought 2 copies with me, so if you're interested in it, have a look at it, take it. But it is also available online on the website of the Federation of Music Conferences, musicconferences.org. You can download it there, and this executive summary also in more than 20 languages. But since time is short, I won't just describe the system and explain the definition. Instead, I'd like to draw attention to one specific point that emerges from the paper and that might spark our debate today. I would hope so. And that is the dilemma of the European music ecosystem. Our ecosystem is made of 2 kinds of structures. And again, I simplify here, but I apologize for that. Structures that are more open and structures that are more closed. In closed system, actors set their own rules by contract. We see this in our ecosystem most clearly in the world of digital platforms, platforms that build their own sealed universes. Today, 5 to 10 digital platforms dominate the global market, but of course also other players chasing market power. 2 companies control almost all ticketing in the Western world. 3 major labels dominate recorded music. A handful of corporations own the 150 largest European festivals. Technology and venture capital keep pushing these more closed structures, fast, big, and powerful. And yet in parallel, new, open, more open structures are emerging during the last at least 2 decades minimum co-created networks, music cities initiatives, European projects, open conferences and festivals, and they are driven on innovation and often on public funding. Between these two poles, open, and more closed, we find everyone else, the artist, the small and medium-sized music companies, and yes, also the fans, of course. Fans who are far too rarely seen as active participants rather than passive consumers. That, in a simple nutshell, is the internal structure of our ecosystem, how we describe it in the paper. And not everyone is happy with it, we know that. So we are hearing growing calls for regulation, regulations between our system and other systems outside our ecosystem, and regulations within the system itself. The Universal Downtown investigation is just one of it. Yet I personally believe we still see too little self-regulation, too little responsible collective responsibility in the ecosystem. And now here's the dilemma I mentioned. Our ecosystem needs both more open and more closed structures. It must not only reward the best business models, it must also create meaning, nurture culture, and protect it. But the system weakens itself when the more closed structures, the more closed structures, the big players, are lacking instruments to support the open ones. And when our music ecosystem becomes weak, it can no longer play its vital role in protecting democracy, as Anna just mentioned. It loses its power to connect, to inspire, to give people a sense of belonging. So I personally think we need a serious debate in the ecosystem. We need a place, maybe a really ambitious European music think tank, to reflect together and fastly come up with ideas and build tools to move beyond this dilemma. At Reeperbahn Festival, where I come from, our motto was Imagine Togetherness. Here in the European Parliament, I want to recall the motto of the European Union, United in Diversity. We need this unity in diversity inside our own small music ecosystem. If we as music people want to keep contributing to unity and diversity in the wider world around us and actually to our democracy and freedom. I truly hope this becomes part of the message that goes out from the Parliament of Pop here in Brussels. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The message, I'm sure, was understood by everybody here in the room. And we continue with culture and democracy, with Pop Loves Democracy. And I want to give the floor to Anna Woloshina and Maria Gutsenko from the Sixters from the Ukraine, and Grzegorz Kwiatkowski from Poland. Please come forward. And feel free to start whenever you are ready.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me right now. My name is Anna.
And my name is Maria.
And we are the members of the rock band The Sixters. We came here to the Parliament of Pop to tell you guys how the music industry works, like from the inside, how the reality of the music industry. And we want to tell you that music is not just an entertainment. Music is a voice. Oh yeah, here's our presentation. Exactly. So that's us. Our rock band, The Sixters. We came here to tell you the reality of the music industry and how it looks from our side. Because music is not just an entertainment. Music is a voice. And if music is a voice of the people, then a democratic society must protect that voice.
But right now, streaming platforms, touring conditions, AI, and ticketing are not built to support young artists. And we feel this every day. So that's why we're here.
And we want to start with something very simple but very real. When you tell someone, I'm a musician, the reaction is always the same. They smile politely and then they tell, oh, that's so nice, my son is also playing a guitar. But is it your actually job? Is it a real work? And can you actually survive by doing that? And in that moment, you feel like your entire life's work, your rehearsing, your writing, your performing, is being treated only as a hobby.
I think every musician has experienced this. And the truth is, many musicians do need a second job, not because music is not work, but because the system that surrounds music does not value the work behind it. And music demands discipline, craft, and devotion. It is work, but the world treats it as a luxury or a side activity.
And that is the first problem of democracy in pop culture. If we don't recognize art as a real work, then we don't protect the people who create it.
And the second issue we want to address is fair payment in the streaming era. So let's imagine something very simple. We want to record just one song, just one. To do that, we need, first of all, a computer, then a DAW, the software to record and edit, a microphone, headphones and audio monitors, an instrument, in our case guitars, because we both play guitar. If we want drums and don't have a drummer, then a drum machine, an audio interface to connect everything, cables and picks, and that's just the tools before anything is even recorded. Then comes the actual work. Writing the song, rehearsing, recording, editing, mixing, mastering, preparing the release, uploading it to streaming platforms, and promoting it, because if you don't promote it, then no one's gonna see it. So every step requires resources. And after all of that, when the song is finally out there in the world, we get paid around 0.003 to 0.005 euros per stream. So that means if our song gets streamed 1,000 times, get listened to 1,000 times, we earn around 3 euros. And to earn something that looks like a real salary, thousands of streams are needed.
But the truth is that only top 0.01% of artists reach that level. Everyone else is invisible. And when only the biggest artists survive, we lose the very thing that makes pop culture democratic, diversity, and new voices. We are losing culture. And now we're gonna talk, guys, about AI in the music industry. You know, we are not against technology. Technology has always been a part of music and a part of our life. But there is an important thing. AI doesn't create, AI copies.
AI takes parts of already existing melodies. It steals ideas from us musicians, but gets paid at the same rate as an artist. People who invested their resources don't get any credit for that. But mostly important, it's time, which is the most valuable human resource. And now we want to talk about one of our songs that is called No Standards. I think you can scan like the QR code and then listen to it afterwards, after we finish our presentation.
Yeah, scan it. You can also then follow us on our social medias.
Yeah, it's also like
a bit of promotion.
A bit of advertisement. So we have written it because we kept hearing the same message over and over again. You should sound more like this, you should look more like them. If you want to succeed, fit in. It's the pressure for an artist nowadays to match what the algorithm promotes. Basically, to match that exact standard.
So our song, No Standards, is our answer to that. It's our rejection of becoming another, copy. There is a line in our song that says, we are not the remix, we are the band. And that is what we believe in. We came to be ourselves.
Democracy in culture means diversity. Let artists be strange.
Let artists be loud.
Let artists be emotional, unpredictable, and individual.
Let us be human. Because a democracy where every voice sounds the same is not a democracy at all.
If we want culture to grow, the people who shape cultural policy must truly understand culture.
We need more artists, more cultural workers, creatives, and young voices involved in decision-making, not just economists and administrators. And then artists will not just survive. They will have the space to create, to develop, and to contribute to society that needs their voices.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
thank you very much for your passionate plea. And I pass the word to Gregor.
Thank you so much. It's so hard to make a speech after your great speech. I'm a fan. I'm a truly fan. My name is Grzegorz Kwiatkowski. I work at Oxford University, Yale University, and but most of all, I'm a poet and musician of the little band from the city of Gdańsk in Poland. The band is called Trupa Trupa, and the city of Gdańsk is the very key issue in our history, because the Second World War started in Gdańsk, right? So not the very happiest event in the history of the world, but also the Solidarity Worker movement was established in Gdańsk. So the Gdańsk is a city of the war, but in some way Gdańsk is a city, or in a big way, is a city of solidarity. And I just wanted to say you in a few words how hard sometimes is to combine these two worlds, to mix these two worlds of politics, democracy, and art. I was always very afraid of the world of politicians, politics. I always thought that this is full of cynicism, thieves, and everything which is bad, because my experience is Eastern experience of a communism era, communism regime, post-Soviet stuff. So. Anyway, Gdańsk is for me like a model city for democracy. I'm super proud of being there. And a few years ago, we had a great mayor of Gdańsk, Paweł Adamowicz, great mayor of Gdańsk, very great, open-hearted, democratic mayor. And Paweł Adamowicz was a friend of our band Trupa Trupa, and he was assassinated in 2009. He was assassinated by the psychopath, but the point is that this psychopath was influenced by the hate speech, and this hate speech was produced by the national far right-wing government and national media. So for 1 year, every day, every person in Poland could learn something bad about Paweł Adamowicz, because the law and justice was fighting in a big way against him. The end was tragic. It was one big tragedy. One of the best mayor in the history of modern Poland was assassinated. He was murdered. And we, Trupa Trupa, we were in the middle of our world tournée. We just signed with a Nirvana label, Sub Pop from Seattle. And we went on South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas. And I thought that I have to do something, like a symbolical thing, something for my mayors, for my city. And I was so afraid that I didn't know that I will do it till the last seconds before the gig. And I said, this concert is dedicated to the memory of a mayor, Paweł Adamowicz, and this concert is like an anti-hatred gig, anti-hatred thing with anti-hatred message. And it was really crazy, mad gig. Very, very successful. Of course, then we experienced a backlash from part of the Poland, right-wing part of the Poland, that we use the memory of a president for our PR tiny reasons. I don't think so, but the point is that it opened me for the world of politics. It showed me that it's not a shame to touch the world of politics. It's not a shame to comment the political stuff. It's not a shame to use our voice and our art and to use the platform, artistic platform to do that. Later, I learned about such big heroes like the band Fugazi from Washington, D.C., about the post-punk scene of Washington, D.C., about American culture that was always very, very political active. And now I know that I wouldn't say that every artist should say something about the world of politics. I mean, I think everyone should do in the art world what he wants to do. But I think it's so great and so powerful. I don't think that even if artists are not saying something directly about the world of the politics, they are always touching the territory of hope, beauty, and human beings. So I don't know the better cure for hatred than art. I dedicated my life to fight against the hatred. My grandfather was a prisoner in a Nazi German concentration camp Stutthof, so it's always like this kind of a heritage gives me another fuel in this political, artistical way. I was just a few seconds ago, I was afraid that I'm saying political way, But yeah, I can say that political and artistical way, and it's not a contradiction. I think this is the one world, and I think that art can really help a lot in the democratic issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much for pointing out the power of artists and saying nothing better against hate than art. And we will continue with the stage with festival organizers, and I want to ask to take the floor Mika Kristoffersen from Roskilde Festival in Denmark, Dusan Kovacevic from Exit Festival in Serbia, and via digital, Tamás Kada from Sziget Festival in Hungary.
Just be yourself, please.
Yeah, this, sorry, the system of the house doesn't send audio via the right cable. So we'll try again. I'm sorry.
Yes. So we start with another statement and afterwards try to figure out what happened and to be able to listen. So, Mika, please, would you start?
Can we have the PowerPoint presentation, please?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Mika Kristoffersen. I'm here from Roskilde Festival, which is a major festival in Denmark. We're a non-profit and we're independent, so we kind of stand out in that way. We're also volunteer-driven. We have 130,000 participants, and 30,000 of them are volunteers. So, see if I can change.
It's not in
It's not in
presentation
the,
mode.
no.
Yeah. It's not presentation mode.
Okay. So, yeah, I will just speak. So what's really important to us,
Okay.
yes. When we ask young people today to imagine a different future, they have a really hard time imagining something that's radically different from what we see now. Something that's really depressing is that when we ask Gen Z, and especially people below 20 years old, to imagine a different future, they imagine a worse one. Former generations used to dream about flying cars and going to the moon and all these exciting and far-out utopian things. Now it's zombie apocalypses and climate catastrophes and the world burning down. So if you can't imagine something, you can't build it. So that's what we see as one of our purposes, imagining a different future. So we talk about utopias and these high-flying, high-lofty ideals, but you need to dream big, and you need to do it in community, and you need to do it together. One of the easiest ways to do that is through art. Art makes you imagine things, it makes you feel things, it makes you want to experience something else. Can I change? I can't change. So one of the methods of change for us is art. So we want to stand really firm on those values. We want to use art, and we want to be a platform for change, be a platform for art. Yes, that one. So I brought this quote from Ursula Le Guin, an artist that says this really well. The idea that sometimes power seems inescapable, and change seems impossible. But any power created by humans can be changed by humans, and art is a really great way of doing that. So resistance and change often begin in art, and that's what we want to be a platform for. We stand on the same values we did when we were founded. We're over 50 years old, and we were inspired by Woodstock. So it's the old hippie ideals, it's the idea of peace, and that's not old fashions. We still believe in peace. We believe in dialogue. We believe in coexistence, even with people that you don't necessarily agree with. We believe in human rights. And it might seem really basic, but these are the values that 130,000 people gather together around each summer and have been for more than 50 years. We want to empower artists, and that's not only musical artists, that's also traditional artists and the participants and everyone that's a part of the music, the cultural industries, to dream, to imagine this and to do it together. We invite NGOs, we invite participants, we invite partnerships, musicians, artists to use the festival as a platform to get their message out. Because when you gather so many people, we also feel like we have a responsibility that they leave with something. It's not just music, it's not just a week of partying, being together with your friends. It has meaning, and you have to take something home with you. This summer, one of the ways that we did this was we were a part of launching the Nordic Climate Justice Coalition at a concert with Mø, one of the big Danish artists. She invited them on stage. Everything had been planned and produced, and they did 3 short speeches about climate justice. So the idea that as an artist, you don't only use your platform through your music, you can also collaborate and use it to be activist with other activists. So to end, this is kind of one of the values we stand on. We want to inspire freedom. We want to inspire a different world. But freedom is choosing your responsibility. It's not freedom from responsibility. So that's what I want to implore you to take home today. What kind of responsibility do you see? What kind of responsibility can you play in ensuring that we have this artistic freedom, this artistic license to activism and to change and to dream of a better world? Thank you.
You want to continue?
You're the chief.
Okay. Yeah, then please. Okay, they have another try. Because if it doesn't work now either, then we have another opportunity to try to fix it. Don't take it too serious.
Hello everyone, my name is Tamás Kádár. I'm the CEO of Sziget Festival. Sziget is one of the biggest festivals in Europe, and it was founded in 1993, so also one of the oldest in that sense. We host around 200,000 people every year, and the festival goes on 6 days. So it's a big event in the heart of Budapest, beautiful city. And our slogan for a long time is the island of freedom, because Sziget is really about acceptance, is really about freedom, where you can basically be free and enjoy freedom for yourself, together with a lot of people, like-minded, open-minded people. We had a great edition in 2025, and we hope to see a great edition in 2026. However, political surroundings in Hungary, as most of you probably know, are not easy, sometimes difficult, but we are working on a great edition for 26 in a independent and really free and hopefully successful edition for 2026. Artistic freedom is one of the most important things when it comes to the festival. and when it comes to music industry at all. In the past few months in Hungary, we see a quite bad tendency which relates to artists who speak out on stage around different causes, different topics, not necessarily political topics. It's sometimes very, very sad to see how politicians attack artists on their speeches on stages, on their songs, on any content they do on stage. We truly believe, because that's what we do for more than 30 years, we truly believe that the most important thing when it comes to any festivals, any music events, any shows, that the most important thing is that people can be safe not only physically, but also mentally, meaning that all kinds of ideas, all kinds of approaches on stages, all kinds of shows what means the real content of any artist performance should be free. Of course, we don't accept hate speech. We don't invite bands or artists whom we know do hate speech on stage or have thoughts which are not aligned with our principles. But if an event decides to put an artist on stage, then it's really on the artist, what he's doing, what he's saying, what he's singing, because that's what artistic freedom is all about. So no artist should be attacked based on any performance, because it's art. And art is free and should be free forever. So we believe it's really important that there is a clear regulation which protects artists and also event organizers, of course also anybody in the promoting business, that no legal consequences or no harm of any kind should be seen in relation to any artist performance, which is maybe not liked by those who attack them. Because it's really on the artist to decide what he's doing on stage, not on the promoter, not on the politicians, not on anyone else, but it's the artist's decision what he's doing on stage. So that's what we believe, and that's why we believe it's very important that there will be a clear regulation around that for all of the countries within the EU. And it could be very useful nowadays in Hungary.
Very important and is indispensable to hear from Hungary and as well to hear from Serbia.
So, thank you. My name is Dusan Kovacevic, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Exit Festival, a multiple winner for the Best Major European Festival Award, and together with Roskilde, one of the very few remaining independent major festivals in the world. I was invited here to speak about freedom of speech for artists and culture workers. That is a topic that is becoming increasingly relevant across the world. And by coming from Serbia, a country where at this very moment freedom is being suppressed in ways that Europe has rarely seen in its modern history. Just 4 days ago, over 130,000 people gathered in my hometown of Novi Sad to mark a tragedy where 16 lives was lost due to a canopy fall of a newly reconstructed railway station. That sparked a massive student and civil protest because people blamed widespread corruption for the disaster and are demanding the rule of law. And the entire free-thinking, cultural and creative scene in Serbia supported the students, and the government response was very fierce. Blacklists were created, And all the culture projects, all the participants who supported the students are stopped. The funding is stopped. Actors lost their roles. And having in mind that most of the venues are state-owned, all the bands who supported the students, and that's almost all the bands, are now forbidden to play anywhere in the country. So basically, this has brought the entire creative and culture scene of Serbia to the brink of extinction. Exit Festival was born 25 years ago as a student movement against the dictatorship of Slobodan Milosevic, so we naturally supported the students. And the government response was immediate. They cut all of our funding. They threatened our main sponsor for 22 years to stop the sponsorship of the festival. They threatened our suppliers to stop to work with us. And officials of the Special Police Force threatened me personally, saying that if we continue to support the students, that they will turn the entire agency against me. We, of course, continue to support the students, and that's why, despite we brought over 300 million euros to the country tourism and promotion that is considered as priceless, it's not possible for Exit to happen in our country next year. But the repression in Serbia goes far beyond the culture. Universities are being cracked down on, leading scientific institutions dismantled just because they supported the students or they refuse to fulfill a quota and send PhD university professors to the government rallies. And I know that this sounds unbelievable, and sometimes, to be honest, even seems for us that it's a nightmare, but it's not. It's the reality that we are living in. And it's even worse than what I just said. So earlier this year, a young art student was brutally attacked. Her jaw was broken with a baseball bat by members of the ruling party. The attackers were soon pardoned, while many students who protested remain in custody. One of them was even brought to his father's funeral in chains. At this very moment, the mother of one of the victims of the tragedy is on hunger strike in front of the Serbian parliament, demanding justice for her son. And instead of meeting her demands, she is being assaulted and harassed by members of pro-government paramilitary camp nearby, which is a grotesque shield that authorities set up against their own people. By standing here today, I'm taking a huge personal risk. After recently losing my wife, I'm now a single parent of 3 small children, and I could lose my freedom or something even worse just because of the words spoken here today. But I know that these words are the best lesson I can give to my kids. And I know that is the best thing I can do for them, for all kids in Serbia, and for all the people anywhere in the world where freedom is being silenced. In times where even nations once known as the bastions of liberty are now falling into autocracy, Europe has a moral duty to lead a global fight for freedom. But to do so legitimately, it must first confront what is happening in its own backyard. Europe can and must protect the civil society and creative scene in Serbia. And because if Europe turns its back on Serbia, it will turn its back upon the very foundations of freedom, justice, and human dignity on which it was built. And listening to all of the speeches before this, what is also important and what we would like to see is support of European music community. This can be also a showcase of the strength of European music community. Then when in any country of Europe, something like this is happening, that the community can step in and support the scene. And I hope that we will get the support from each of you in a ways that you can provide it. Thank you.
I think these words spoke for themselves, and in not every member state of the European Union, artistic freedom is guaranteed. There are still member states where neither in the basic law or in the constitution freedom of expression or freedom of art is mentioned. And it's our responsibility as members of the European Parliament, as politicians, to promote freedom of arts in the European Union as one of the core values. And this is a responsibility, especially in the situation we are now, as the European Union is threatened and is under attack, and as democracy is under attack, and freedom of expression and freedom of arts. We continue with two contributions to the secondary ticketing, how values, added values are taken away from artists, from creator. And I want to ask the concert promoter Harvey Goldsmith from the UK and Claire Turnham from New Zealand, who is a victim of Viagogo, for their contributions.
Thank you. I'm Harvey Goldsmith. I'm a promoter and producer, and I work globally, all over the world. I want to make the case for legislation on ticketing. Music is a universal language that crosses all borders. Contemporary music is more popular worldwide, not only with British and American artists, but of course with huge local successes as well. However, along with success, in this day and age comes greed. Live entertainment, particularly music, is starting to outprice itself. Alongside this popularity comes abuse. The entry point to see a live entertainment is a ticket. A ticket says where and when, date and time, and is proof of entry. A ticket is not a commodity to be traded. Currently, the price of a ticket to see your hero is so expensive that it is detrimental to upcoming artists, as music fans do not have spare cash to invest in seeing an unknown but up-and-coming artist. The business today goes on sale with the massive ticketed shows, sometimes 18 months ahead of the due date. And tickets for these popular artists sell out quickly with maximum prices and have allowed a secondary market to prevail. This secondary market now takes total advantage of fans. They earn on both sides of a transaction and often publicise tickets that in fact don't exist. They set their own parameters and no one is stopping them. The most abuse comes from platforms like Google, who are paid handsomely by these secondary ticket sellers and scammers and their agencies, because they're earning huge ad revenue from every scam that's ever been invented. They have no skin in the game, and the money generated does not go back to support artists. The public are confused and downtrodden in the rush to see their heroes, and find that when they go online, the only place where they can obtain a ticket is through these sites, who are there to take as much money as possible, playing on the emotions of the fan. It's extraordinary that companies like Viagogo, who now own StubHub, have a stock market value of over $8 billion, earned entirely from the misery of fans. The secondary market is considered to be worth in the region of $16 billion. A lot of that money goes to individuals and criminal gangs globally. In the UK, it is illegal to sell a ticket on the secondary market for football for safety reasons. It is also illegal to resell an Olympic Games ticket. Therefore, why can't governments, who should have a duty of care to protect citizens from being ripped off, pass simple legislation to ensure that tickets are sold at face value plus an agreed booking fee? Poland has adopted this stance. Portugal has technically adopted the stance. France prohibits the resale unless the organiser consents. In Italy, it's illegal to resell a ticket above face value for commercial purposes. Ireland brought out legislation but refused to adopt it. If the EU as a whole would consider universal level legislation, millions of euros would be saved and could be reinvested in supporting young up-and-coming musicians. Once there is legislation, then the industry should be able to police it. That would then create the atmosphere for all countries to stop this awful abuse. The US Department of Justice is currently examining the whole issue of ticket distribution, as is New Zealand, where the government received 9,000 complaints in one season re Viagogo ripping off the public. Viagogo's response is, okay, that was the price of doing business. Multiply that up globally and one can see the scale of this abuse. Simple legislation to say that a ticket can only be sold at face value plus a booking fee of an agreed percentage, plus a resale site where tickets can put up for sale if you can't go to that event, again for face value plus a small booking fee, would become a benchmark for citizens of the EU. I urge you to consider it because it's getting out of hand. Thank you.
Harvey is already leaving us because he needs to go back to England tonight and catch the train. Harvey, many thanks. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Greetings to you all from Aotearoa, New Zealand, and acknowledgements to our hosts, to our organisers, to fellow speakers, to the industry, to key players, and to friends who are gathered here today. I'm here to speak to you from and share the Victim of Viagogo story so that you can hear our collective voice. The cost of secondary ticketing is much more than the financial cost. It is the human cost to our health, to our culture, our art, and our simple connection to joy. Victim of Viagogo has and is the first and only united consumer advocacy group affected by secondary ticketing abuse. We were established in February 2017 as a grassroots not-for-profit group founded on lived experience, justice, and community-driven action. We are proud to be the only unified consumer voice for fans in this space, and we stand ready to help shape policy that protects people, supports artists, and restores integrity, trust, and safety to live events. Since my own personal experience of distress buying tickets to an Ed Sheeran concert for my 13-year-old son back in 2017, that show was in Dublin, actually. Victim of Viagogo has gone from being a one-person response to help others to become a fan-centred global movement of many thousands of people. And together we have helped reclaim, as volunteers, over 5 million euros in refunds for fans who have been ripped off buying tickets from the resale platform Viagogo. We have witnessed the harm firsthand. I have been called myself directly by parents whose teenagers have been in hospital because they have attempted suicide. I've been called by adults whose own mental and physical health has been seriously impacted, who have been not able to work because of the pain endured. They have shared their stories with me and with us because we have provided a trusted support network for people who have been affected by unsafe and deceptive secondary ticketing sites. We represent thousands of fans across the world, including consumers within your member states, who have been overcharged, misled, and excluded from live events due to exploitative practices of the secondary ticketing market. We have collaborated with leading artist teams, including Ed Sheeran, who who has shown us that with a consistent commitment to fans, that change is actually possible. And we've also worked with other artists, including those from Europe, to improve fairness, equity, and access. We've raised awareness of ongoing ticket abuse within the UK Parliament, within the media, and within industry-wide events across the world. We've advised on consumer policy to key stakeholders of live events in sport and theatre, and that's from New Zealand rugby all the way to Wales rugby, to England rugby, to theatre groups, and to many, many music events. Our voice matters because despite raising much awareness and promoting education around ticket abuse, this is still happening to thousands of people every day. And this includes those people and those fans who are in the EU who are being denied fair and safe access. And these are not isolated events or cases. Instead, what they represent, as Harvey mentioned, is a continued pattern of ticket abuse and systemic failings which often do harm young people, their families, and vulnerable consumers. And despite our success in supporting fans, we recognise that this secondary ticketing crisis cannot be solved without a fundamental, joined-up, longer-term thinking approach with resources, education, and a continuity of care to bring effective change. For the European Union, this requires serious and sustained regulatory reform. You have the power to make laws and to enforce them, most importantly, across all member states. We welcome the invitation today to speak, and we ask you to consider consumers' perspective when making decisions to improve ticketing practices. We are calling for you not to miss this opportunity within the upcoming Digital Fairness Act to include secondary ticketing as an example. And we put an urgent call out for regulation to protect people and for consumers to be a voice and a seat at the table, to be an integral part of the solution. Across Europe, families and fans continue to experience financial loss, anxiety and emotional harm due to misleading, unfair and unjust ticket resale practices. Refunds, if they can be gained, really repair the damage. Even Europe's most celebrated artists, from Hans Zimmer, Andrea Bocelli and Ludovico Einaudi, have seen that their fans have been exploited on secondary markets. And their promoters in the UK are now working proactively to protect their fans by taking down tickets from unauthorised platforms before they are bought. There are many artists, and I have many, many examples of them, from Harry Styles, Coldplay, Olivia Rodrigo, Taylor Swift, Formula One, and Adele, all across Europe, whose fans have been affected. Our vision is for a total transformation in ticketing, and we are calling now for everybody to be involved. Just as I was arriving today, I read a quote, and it said, "Where there is ruin, there is hope." That quote was by Rumi, and it just felt right today. We urge you to listen not just to platforms and promoters, but to fans who make live culture what it is. Together, by putting fans first, we can make a better and safer experience for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So if the European Union wants to protect consumers and artists, then it will have to act. And trust and dreams are destroyed. And trust and dreams were destroyed with Brexit. And now we are coming to touring artists and going borderless. And I welcome Jess Partridge. And later we are with Jules Holland.
Or should we have it first?
Yeah, I think we're going for
first.
Jules
Okay,
first.
so because it was
He
a good
does the
wordplay,
picture.
later with Jules Holland, but now with Jules Holland.
I'm Jules Holland, and it's a great honour for me to be addressing you, the members of the European Parliament. And the reason I am is because I want you to consider what's happening to musicians at the moment. Here are some down here, you can see them all. But there's not just the musicians here in the UK, it's the musicians in mainland Europe. We're a great victim by Brexit, and it's difficult for us to tour in each other's countries, which it never was before. Music is an international language, and it's very important for us to be able to tour and in Europe and in the UK. I want European artists more than anything to appear on my TV show or my band to appear at festivals around Europe. And anything you can do to ease in the barriers to doing that, all the musicians would be really grateful for. So thank you for considering this. It's much appreciated. You really are.
Nice and short. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak here. And thanks to Jules for the intro. He's speaking very big picture there, and I want to go into some of the more specific elements. My name is Jess Partridge, and I am the Executive Director of EMA, the European Music Managers Alliance, and we're a funded network through the Creative Europe. So music, well, culture, and particularly music, has always been a powerful bridge between the UK and the EU. We know this before trade agreements and treaties. There were music and theatre traveling across Europe in a very open way. But today, that bridge is completely under strain. Since Brexit, touring has become very complex, as Jules was saying, costly and often unviable. Artists, managers and venues are navigating bureaucracy now that just isn't meant for cultural exchange, which is a huge, huge issue. It's more important than ever to boost European music as a whole as well, including the UK, to ensure a competitive market as the global industry grows. So we think the time is now. We need a UK-EU artist treaty, and we need to repair that creative connection. So what could that actually include? So, shared investment. Rejoining Creative Europe or its successor, Agora EU, is an essential part of this. It would restore funding for collaboration, innovation, joint cultural projects. It would benefit both sides enormously. It would allow independent artists, companies and organizations to access vital transnational support, benefiting the wider music ecosystem across Europe. Coalitions for change are building. We know this with the likes of UK Music, the Musicians Union, ISM, Live, and others coming together to turn these ideas from a principle into a practice. Its mission is to transform the published UK-EU Summit's common understanding, which you can read online, into meaningful action. The intent is there, and now we need delivery. So apart from that, mobility and touring, as we've already started to mention, there are some key issues that we really do want to see legislative change on. We need to level the playing field, introduce visa and work permit-free travel for artists for at least 90 days across the EU, UK and EU. Freedom to tour must be the freedom to move, not paperwork, not piecemeal exemptions for different artists of different kinds. We also need longer-term touring solutions. The 90 and 180-day rule is unworkable for large concerts, for theatre tours, for orchestras, meaning these jobs are less sustainable. Skills gaps are created, and it's additional work for those organizing, not to mention the sustainable element where people are having to travel back and forward. We need flexibility, and we need a system that recognizes professional mobility, not punishes it. Carnets are a huge issue. We hear it all the time as music manager representatives. The cost of them, the admin, it's so excessive. We need to seek an exemption or reduce process for touring artists. These goods are not being sold, they're just being taken temporarily. VAT and duty on merchandise is also another issue where a unified approach would support small and mid-tier artists who really rely on that income. So coming to one of our key topics at EMA, which is withholding tax. Among all these issues, withholding tax, we feel remains one of the most urgent and unfair. It is a complex web of rules that makes European touring an administrative burden for everyone involved, but especially managers. The way withholding tax tax is it deducts up to 30% of an artist's gross income before expenses, making touring financially impossible. It makes last-minute opportunities unthinkable because of the forms, everything that needs to be collected, and high-quality productions often unviable. For instance, if an artist's fee is just about covering the cost and the production, the tax on top of that, on the gross, makes it impossible to proceed with. Even if they can eventually claim it back, it's an issue. More than this, negotiated trade agreements with international artists from the US have thresholds allowing each musician, not each band, each musician, to earn up to $30,000 before withholding tax is deducted. This means we're giving musicians from the US a huge advantage and benefit and not giving it to each other within the EU. So at the European Music Managers Alliance, we have led the campaign for reform, and we see that there is change. Netherlands, Denmark, Ireland have already removed withholding tax, and we want to see a directive introduced that would at least recommend thresholds like the ones the US have. This is a wider movement. Momentum is building. We need to see the UK and EU working together better for culture. Politicians don't need to invent the solutions. We have them already. The sector already knows what we need. So we just need policy to follow that. A UK-EU artist treaty should re-establish Creative Europe participation and enable frictionless touring through visa and carnet reform, fix withholding tax, create fairer and more competitive environment for European artists, and crucially, recognize culture as a pillar of our shared prosperity. So, the creative industries have always led where politics follows. Let's show that collaboration still works and that art, not administration, can define our future. Thank you.
UK is welcome in Creative Europe, UK is welcome in Erasmus+, and UK is welcome in the European Union. I pass.
So, next speakers are now on the way to the stage here. Very happy to welcome Ana Buchegger, Iban Garcia del Blanco, the rapporteur who really developed the music streaming resolution, Rent Rudkoleva from Bulgaria. But to start with, I would like to ask for the video with Christopher Ann, which is a quite well-known musician from Germany, who also supplied us with 2-3 minutes speech. And I hope this one will come up right now.
When the EU Parliament accepted the resolution on cultural diversity and the conditions for authors in the European streaming market on 17th of January in 2024, it was a very important step in the interests of musicians in the European Union. It made clear that the described problems of artists barely being paid for their streamed songs were no unlucky individual cases, that the described lack of transparency were not just anecdotes, but there was more to these cases. The study Remuneration in German Market for Music Streaming by Jana Kostas and Patrick von der Au, published in spring 2025, says that 75% of the music streaming payouts would go to 0.1% of the artist channels. 68% of the artist channels would be paid less than €1 per year. And further, the majority of the surveyed artists says they are not paid properly and the system is intransparent. Artists need fair payouts. We need an equitable remuneration for our work. The basis for negotiations on equitable remuneration is transparency. We need to know at least about the frame of the contract between the rights holders and the streaming services. And we need to be enabled to control our license billing properly. To the problems with music streaming, other situations are added. Ticket sales for small and middle cap shows are going back. AI has already taken away monetarization. Public funding is shrinking in parts. All this is leading to a loss of diversity and a lack of newcomers. Many musicians and following many workers in the music and event industry are leaving the sector. The European Parliament did its job. Now it's up to the European Commission to convert the resolution into proper legislation. Thank you.
Nicely spoken, but let me ask a question to the audience. Whom of you read the music streaming resolution once? Oh, thank you so much. Leading over, Ivan, before you starting, Ivan, Ruth, Anna, can you please give us your kind of opinion about the music streaming resolution, what you think about it, if it's a good one or not? Push a button, please.
Well, okay, I wrote a little tiny baby speech about my opinion. And, well, I guess it's more like an imaginary scenario. So, hi, my name is Anna, and I'm an artist, an author, a composer, a musician, an economist, a content creator, graphic designer, a promoter, office clerk, a booker, a tour manager. I'm a company head, a technician, a stagehand, a tour bus driver, an investor, and a specialist in living on a low income. And this is my only job. Today, I'm also a speaker, and even if this is more like reading. Like many of us, I am familiar with multiple perspectives on the streaming system, from the artist's point of view, from the consumer's point of view, and at the latest, from the activists' and politicians' point of view. I am a torn capitalist victim, I could say. This is my second time I'm part of a conference with a focus on streaming resolutions at the EU Parliament. I'm very grateful to be back here again, and I think we need 1,000 more events like this. And at the same time, I think maybe this is too much talk and too little action. And I have a few questions. Is all this talk still relevant when we all together already agreed that the streaming market system is unfair and fraudulent? Can we really influence a powerful streaming provider and convince them to create an author-friendly, more sustainable market? Or are these wasted resources? Yes, this is a rhetorical question, but I would like to answer it. And I would say, yes, maybe this is a wasted resources. And I have to admit I'm an expert when it comes to wasted resources. I mean, why would a platform like, for example, Spotify with a CEO who invests 600 million euros in war be interested in fair conditions for artists? And I have a naive vision, a thought experiment, an imaginary scenario. Imagine there is a streaming alternative focused on fairness, transparency, and community connection for artists and fans. My naive vision is a European lead and based platform, a platform based on a user-centric model. So each user subscription fee would only be distributed to the artists and labels that this user is actually listened to. So those who listen to you, pay you. That would be direct, fair, and transparent. Imagine there would be a feature allowing fans to assign a small portion of their subscription fee into a personal pot, which can be paid out directly to the artists as a digital tip or used as a discount on merchandise and tickets. That could build a bridge between digital listening and live concerts. Imagine there would be a local focus, like a radar, which suggests local acts and new artists based on the user's location. That could actually encourage European diversity. Imagine that platform would offer artists a transparent overview of the remuneration, so they can calculate precisely or plan tour rates based on the locations of their listeners. Imagine if a platform could significantly strengthen a society's appreciation of art. Imagine if a platform could lead to a more resilient, more united society that does not become isolated, but instead comes together in musical spaces. Imagine if we could actively, all together, change the system in the name of democracy, in the name of social justice. Well, I keep dreaming. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Shefo. Ruth, can you please let us know your point of view?
I have different problems. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. I can very much relate to every single word you're saying. But I come from Bulgaria. And in the last few years, we've been doing extensive work within our region, the Balkan region, which consists of around 55 million people. There's, of course, member states, as you're aware, in the Balkans. I heard many times today the words diversity, inclusion, democracy, but unfortunately, these words are not very adequate when we're talking about the Balkans. I'll just give some numbers in perspective, and then I'll talk about the streaming realm. So artists from Southeast Europe, from all the Balkan countries, represent only 0.6% of 2025's lineup of some of the biggest music events for emerging talent. That's 11 out of 1,713. For Creative Europe, cooperation projects from the Balkans are 30% less for the previous period. We have not seen the so-called diversity and inclusion in practice, in reality, for the most time we've been equal members of the European Union. The digital world, for the whole 55 million market, the Balkans, there is not a single regional manager or curator for Spotify. We've had this discussion many times before on different panels and different forums, even with Mr. Heide, we were together at Reeperbahn last year. Nothing has really changed. And what is this causing? For many artists, the demonetization, the 1,000 stream demonetization of Spotify has completely erased any profit that they have from Spotify. 65% of the surveyed labels, independent labels from the Balkans, which are 71, some of them are some of the biggest catalog owners in the region, said that they have been hit very hard with the new policy. For many artists, the fact that there's no way for them to get on a playlist, to be curated in the Spotify official playlists, is an absolute game changer because they start to erase their own cultural identity. They start to perform in English or try to create a new vision for their music to fit a more commercial narrative, which is causing cultural erasure, isn't it? And there isn't a single measure that we've tried, soft or stronger, that has been able to change the talks with Spotify, for example. Something else, increased marketing costs. Without regional curators, Southeast European artists have higher costs in promoting their music on platforms, making it difficult for them to reach international audiences, but also creating financial burden. The regular median artist on Spotify makes around 12 euros a month. Now, if you don't have any sort of means to promote your music and get on a playlist and have no access to curators, that means artists from this vastly underrepresented region, the Balkans, spend much more than artists in Western Europe to promote their music just to get a chance. Because the digital world is basically the gateway of how people discover music right now. So the main question here is not only why is this important, it's about fairness, it's about equality, it's about how music is being discovered. And everything we do and everything we talk about and the topic of democracy is nothing without taking measures, because it's been over 1 year since we've had this panel at Reeperbahn and nothing has really changed.
Tough words. leading over to our dearest politicians here. Iban, what is your point of knowledge? Where is the music streaming resolution right now on a political level?
Thank you. Thank you first for the invitation to you, mainly Manfred, and for imagining this gathering and filling this room, and of course to the committed MEP that are hosting together today, all of us, my friend Hannes and the others. I'm not a politician anymore. I have to acknowledge this just for starting, but of course I think that once never give up to be one of them in a way, and of course I'm not giving up of policies and politics at the same time, no? But first of all, I have to say that I'm here and I was working for this resolution first because I'm one of the biggest listeners of music in Europe, and I can demonstrate that by a statistic, and I take so seriously that condition. And I take so seriously the necessity of supporting and rooting the art, because many of the reasons that you were saying today in this part. I remember the moment in which we approved this resolution on the conditions of authors in the streaming music streaming market. I remember that we were able at the end to gather a huge support in the parliament. I remember that was about 90% of the MEPs present at that moment. And I remember that I was so excited because I thought that at that moment that we were really making a change, that we were really fostering and leveraging changes for the better, for the future. But all these shortcomings that we were identifying, and of course we are all together agree on them, about unfair revenues, about lack of diversity on the offer, about some unlawful and quite hurting practices like payola schemes or buyouts practices and so on. About the uncertainty that at that moment we had altogether too, about the development and the massive development of artificial intelligence and the effects on the market and for arts. All these recommendations that we did, because we did very concrete ones about a real compliance of the European Union law against these unlawful practices, about introducing transparency measures, algorithmic transparency on some of the tools that we're using in the streaming market, about taking diversity measures, of course making sure that diversity as one of the main mottos of the European Union were complied in practice, in art and in music too, about the creation of this observatory of the music in the European Union. I see now the landscape, and I have to acknowledge that, and on that I really disagree a little with Anna. I see that we are not doing nothing. I think that this is worse than that. We are getting backwards in some of the realities that we were describing at this moment. And at the same time, the paradox is that the music market, the revenues in the music sector, the envisagement for the future is bigger and bigger, is getting bigger every day. I was taking a look to this Goldman Sachs study that was delivered about 1 month ago or something like that, that were envisaging a music market for 2035 for more than 200 billion. That is more or less the 4 times we were seeing in the moment that we approved the resolution on the music streaming market. And the paradox is that the pie every day is bigger, but the share of the pie of the people that at the end is creating the market, because without artists there's no music, is fewer and fewer. So in that sense, I think that we are going down backwards. And of course, some of the measures that were put in place more or less coterminous at the same moment that we were approving this resolution. Like some of them that were content in the Artificial Intelligence Act are in a way a bit watered down in this moment, like transparency rules, and even not the one that were obligatory, but the one that were merely a part of these codes of practices or good practices that the European Commission and AI Office are advising to everybody, everyone. So, as Anna said, too much talking and a little action, but I wouldn't underestimate the power of talking. I think that is quite important that we talk about that. I think that is quite important that you gather all together in these public institutions, take into account that the space that you don't feel, there are others that are feeling. And I think that most of all, above all I'm saying, and getting backwards to the previous point in which I was thank you to Hannes and the rest, I think that it's quite important that you support so highly the people that are really committed and help them to make bigger and greater and mightier the position inside the institutions, inside this parliament too, because the situation, unfortunately, as I was saying, is really worse than it used to be in the past. So I think that the effort that we have to put in place is bigger than we had to put in the past. So saying all that, and I'm going to stop saying all that, I think that is really worth being hopeful about the future. I think that we have to keep the hope for the future, but of course being realistic about there's a lot of work to do, and the forces that are pressing and are pushing in the opposite way, and so might, and getting mightier every day. So thank you so much, and of course you can count on me for the future in any place or any action that you could think that is helpful. Thank you so much.
Hannes, my question to you. Would it help if Anna and Ruud write to you and Ursula and Glenn Mikalev on a daily basis, like to get you guys a little bit more moving faster?
I think that wonderful things she does in her artwork, she shouldn't write every day a letter. Not to me, she could, but to Ursula.
Well, I would do that.
She doesn't have to write to Glenn Mikalev because he is committed. But that shows how important it is that we are in a permanent dialogue working together. Because there were words about politicians, and there are different kind of politicians. There are the ones who are passionate, who are committed, but also competent as you are, because your work was tremendous, and it is proof what politicians, lawmakers can achieve. And when we want to act, when we want to be successful, it's not enough to convince Glenn Mikalev, who is committed, or me, or other members of the CULT committee. These are topics, these are issues that also are a case of other committees. And we have to see and we have to make them aware. The creative sector, music is not only a case of culture and nice to do, it's important for Europe. It's about values, it's about economy, it's about living together for our social life, it's about our future, it's about our achievements we can make. This is a European vision that we lack now. And this is where we have to be united and act. And my vision is not only to convince the European Commission, but to convince Europeans, European citizens, how important this is for their everyday life, and they obviously are not aware. I don't remember who said, when you say you are a musician as a job, as profession, then you hear, oh yes, my kids are also playing an instrument. And I want to recall another story of a well-known Austrian musician who is very successful. But when he was not successful, he was asked by a policeman, what is your job? He said, musician. And what did the policeman say, oh, unemployed? So, and when I hear what the situation for certain artists, for musicians, composer, creators is, then in fact they are on a very low income, and then we hear about high revenues. Everybody is taking a piece of the cake, but those who are the creators, where are the creators? So please creators, please artists, raise your voice. You are used to raise your voice. Take the stage. This is the stage. My vision is to make an awareness, to create awareness. We are not here in the 7th floor in one of the back rooms. We had a lot of discussions already on buyout treaties agreements here as well. But let's go into the center of European politics. Tell all other artists we are not here tonight. Tell even all technicians, sound engineers, all music managers, and even the nightliner drivers. Here is the place to be, raise your voice, and let's fill the hemicycle, the plenary, and make a debate, not only for 1.5 hours, for a day and continuously and on other occasions, and let us also vote on certain demands and needs the sector has. And then we get an awareness. And all the artists, please, if they're well known, be aware that the public is listening to you, and raise your voice, and then we are able to achieve.
Thank you very much. Therefore, as we are really running a little bit late here, and it's a tough thing, so very short route, and then I would like to head on to...
Let the artists speak, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one to say anything after what you just said, but ultimately there's also a very practical reason why streaming should change, and as bigger that streaming is becoming, how many 100,000, 150,000 songs a day, and the less artists are making from streaming, they will more heavily rely on subsidies. And we're seeing this in Bulgaria. We're seeing artists being in more difficult financial situation. Costs are rising, but the money from streaming that they're receiving is absolutely a joke. I have been an artist for over 20 years. I have 4 albums, numerous singles. I have made more money from buying very small amount of stocks in Spotify this year that I have made for my 80 songs catalog that I have on the streaming platform. And I have invested over 250,000 euros over the years for my albums, for my videos and all that. There has been absolutely no balance in the investment and the revenue. And this is the story of almost every artist that you would meet, except for the very small 1%.
Thank you very much, Ruth. And when I came up with the agenda for this conference, we was talking about artists quite a lot and unemployment and now, and thanks very much for you guys telling about how much you earn. I would like to lead over to the next topic, which is headed by Kiki Ressler from KKT, talking about the subject of social ticketing, because we was talking a lot about like artists, but we never talked about the audience. So now Kiki will talk on behalf of your audience here. Thanks very much, guys. I couldn't have foreseen that better, you know, that's people talking about unemployment, social situation. Now we have the topic of social ticketing. Oh, by the way, Kiki is the concert agent for die Toten Hosen, die Ärzte, and various other bands, and I'm so happy that he is here.
Hello. After all the massive problems we heard today, our industry and the recording industry is facing, I would like to have a little note to show everybody that luckily our industry can solve some problems themselves. Back in, I think it was in the second half of 22, various tours were launched which used the new dynamic pricing on ticketing, which is an algorithm system which is based on what hotels and air companies use for a long time, which simply means the more pressure is on the tickets, the higher the price gets. And I was so pissed off with this thing that I thought my idea is a different one. And of course, the colleagues, well, promoters, agents, artists using these dynamic price tickets, they say, well, it's a free market as long as the fans are willing to pay these high prices up to thousands of dollars. Why shouldn't we do it? But I think when we sell tickets, we're selling something different than hotel beds or airplane seats or watches. We are selling culture. And this means it is a part of the democracy that everybody should have access to the culture. So I thought, why don't we try something different, and discuss this with some of our artists, and we established, well, on big open air shows, the system of social tickets, meaning that people who have a certain, well, we couldn't decide who was the person to have the right to get these tickets, so we had to rely on council or state things where we can say, okay, this person is allowed to get a social ticket, and we were selling tickets for shows with a regular price of 90 euros at a price of 1990 euros. And we did that first in 24 on a couple of big open air shows in Berlin. And now we established it for a big open air stadium tour in the next year, where we sold about 850,000 tickets, and 1% of this whole capacity. We actually wanted to sell more, but we sold 1% of this capacity to people who couldn't afford the normal tickets for then a very reasonable price, which is not a lot, but in the end it made around 8,000 people who wouldn't be able to afford to go to these shows to have access to these shows. And yeah, that's mainly everything I wanted to say.
Kiki, I really love this idea. You know, like we're talking about high ticket prices, and that's the total opposite of it. And politicians cannot really do something about this kind of policy. However, it's a really good measure, especially in the days of inequality, where a lot of people are not anymore able to afford high ticket prices for whatsoever.
Yeah, and given the fact that all the big stadium acts, the regular ticket prices for them, they have now an average price of 200 euros. And that is a lot of money.
Totally indeed. And I know some people of you waiting for the free drinks outside there, but before that kind of topic, we have Anna and Katja, one more time again, coming up with some hopefully short closing remarks. Anna, go ahead, please. Or Katja. Come on, Katja, please.
Good evening, everybody. Nice that Crucial Mass is still here. That's very good. We are not the mix, we're the band. I think most of us being here today, not the politicians, having jobs because of the artists, and therefore the artists are so important. And I really loved how all the artists were talking today, what they were talking about. We heard Christopher Ahnen, one of the bands, Annenmai Kantereit, we funded in the beginnings, and nowadays they do not need us anymore, and that's very nice. My name is Katja Lucke. I'm the managing director of Initiative Musik, and I started 2 years ago working on the federal platform, so to say. We are here today on behalf of the Initiative Musik, the central funding body and platform for music in Germany. and we're no strangers to working in the intersection of politics and pop music. The majority of the budgets allocated to us for our work comes from Germany Federal's Government Commissioner for Culture and Media. So we heard so much about politicians, what they are doing and what they are not doing. And I think hearing all what we heard so far, democracy is a really fragile thing. And I think we have to fight. And what I really love so far, and thank you, Tari, for bringing us together, we are not alone. So we are talking about this. I think we have to always keep in mind that we are not alone. And therefore, I think something like coming together here is so very much important. By providing structural funding for music projects in Germany, as well as supporting Germany-based solo artists and bands, we strive to live up to what the popular in popular music originally means. We have heard about the state of the artist, that is both the possibilities and potentials of being a working musician in today's music economy, but also the challenges or even obstacles they face. How can they continue not only to thrive, but also to make a living at all when they are faced with various crises? I wrote down all these crises, but I think we heard all the crises. We heard all these obstacles they have to face. So I will continue. We are grateful to receive generous support from the German government and to be able to pass it on to those who need it the most. And this is what we heard so much today. Aspiring artists who are confronted with all economic crisis and other crises, and they try to become professionals, and that is make a decent living with their contributions to culture and society at large. We would like to also acknowledge recent developments on the level of European politics, including resolutions to preserve and facilitate cultural diversity. It is our hope that these ideas we heard today and we saw that are already written down will be adopted by legislators across the European Union in a time when the livelihoods and so many artists depend on them, and thus our shared culture too. Because what we heard and what we are talking about are not abstract discussions. We heard so many brutal things from our neighbors, from festivals, and what they really have to face every day, just if they want to live in a democratic way. And I think that we have to keep in mind, and that really means so much. And we heard this, we have to be alert and we have to be aware that times really changed the last months for us, for all of us, from our neighbors, in our cities, in our countries. And I think we are sitting in the same boat all together. So more than most other art forms, music thrives on collaboration. This is why support for individuals working in the field of music always also contributes to our shared European and international culture. We see that these people, literal movers and shakers, need adequate representation. They need to be heard, not only by the audiences, but also by policymakers, who we can gain valuable insights into their everyday experiences. So, did you say? No. Okay, thank you. So I think because there we are today in the European Parliament and in the Parliament of Pop, a gathering of initiatives, individuals and politicians that take the popular music seriously, who identify problems of those whose music we have been talking about and those to whom it belongs. We feel honored to have participated in an event that brought together such a diverse roster of experts and experienced members of the European music world. So I skip a bit because I think it's a very good idea being in Brussels and being in the European Parliament and talking about what we heard and what we are talking about. And I think if I could have a wish Please do not stop doing what you're doing, bringing us together, and really mix up people talking to each other and talking to politicians. And I think this is really the inner circle of democratic, that we never stop having a dialogue. Thank you.
Anna, now it's you.
Yes, short. I got that one. Thank you, Tari. So, closing remarks, keeping it very short, that's the assignment. I've been listening to so many inspiring people this night, and what I find something that really binds us is that we can have such a good perspective if we really embrace our European music ecosystem. Maybe because of some of the things I've heard, because music is super accessible, so many fans are listening to music. It's such an easy form of art to engage with, and this accessibility makes that we can really thrive. And also, I think we need to collaborate, because we see a lot of private equity and a lot of circulation of money in the sector. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. That can make the opportunities to distribute music towards fans even better. But at the moment we see that there's engagement between the artist and the fan is a little bit off balance. And I wanted to end somewhat with a cry for help for Europe. Help us fix this. Help us fix that private equity and the underground don't always work together well enough, and let's cooperate in that and make sure that artists have a level playing field and good access. Whether it is across regions, whether it is across talent stages, let's work together on that as well, and thrive and aim for fair remuneration as well with all these new technologies coming towards us. Ending on a personal note, because I was truly moved by what Dusan of Exit Festival told us, and that is also why in which I've started my speech in the beginning. Artistic freedom is so important to underlie all of this, and I think this is also something that we should tackle as politicians, as policymakers, and as everyone that is part of this music ecosystem, because what happens in regions such as Serbia at the moment affects us everywhere across Europe. So if we want music to be the soft power that it can be, to combine a European shared identity, we should all feel responsible for that. Thank you.
Oh no, that was a really tough ride, this one. First of all, many, many thanks to all of you who attended here today. Thanks very much to MEP Heide, MEP Zdrojewski, Team Heide over there, to all the speakers who have been here. And if I would like to add something, oh, you want to say something?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Thank
then.
you very much, Tari, and also Benjamin, and all the helping hands here around that made this event possible.
So let's toast to democracy. It's waiting outside for you. Thanks a lot. Meine Güte.
Tari as well. Yeah. Oh, very good. No, I liked it. What was that? Yeah. No, I liked what you added at the end actually. So.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, he was closing remarks. Yeah, I did. So that was on the schedule. Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah.
No, great. And I was actually quite moved by some of the story, so I decided to sort of skip everything that I wanted to say in the end and stand still there a little bit, because it's sort of a crossroads, it feels sometimes.